Good evening, everyone. My name is Maya. I'm the Director of Programs and Events here at the museum at Eldridge Street. Thank you so much for joining us for this virtual program with Dr. Erin Feingold. We are going to have a Q&A at the end, but please feel free during the program to pop your question in the chat. I will be interacting with Dr. Feingold during the program, so if I see a good question that is better not saved for the end, I will ask out loud if there's a good moment. So please feel free to keep the questions coming. For those who haven't visited us before, the museum at Eldridge Street is housed in the historic Eldridge Street Synagogue. Let's pull up a picture of that for you. There we go. Built in 1887, it was the first grand synagogue built by Eastern European Jews in the US, and we offer both in-person and virtual programming, and you can find all of our programming on our website at eldridgestreet.org/events, and I just put that link in the chat for you. Before we begin, I just want to mention some programming that we have coming up. Very exciting. We're gearing up for our Hanukkah programming, starting with this program tonight here at the museum. So please check out our events calendar for everything that we have, both virtual and in person, culminating in our annual winter concert on December 25th. Tomorrow, we have an in-person Hanukkah food panel exploring the sacred foodways of both Central and Eastern European Jewish and Ethiopian Jewry with culinary visionaries in our stunning historic setting. And a light reception with Ethiopian Jewish bites and a book signing will follow the discussion. So it'll be a really beautiful event in person tomorrow at the museum at 6 p.m. So I hope you can join us for that. We also, if you're not local, we all have virtual programming coming up as well. On December 16th, next week, you can join Izzy Abramson for a delightful hour of his original Hanukkah folktales, storytellings, and readings from his book, Winter Blessings, which was a finalist for the National Jewish Book Awards. And if you have any little ones especially, we have a wonderful in-person family-friendly program. It's a retelling of the Hanukkah story. You'll be exploring how Hanukkah changed over the past 150 years, and you'll be concluding with holiday crafts and games. And kids and their grown-ups will spin dreidels, play holiday games, and create festive tangram Hanukkah cards to share with loved ones. And of course, we can't forget our annual winter concert. This year, we're thrilled to welcome back klezmer artist and scholar Yael Strom and his band Hop Pastrami. And they'll be mixing classic Yiddish songs and klezmer melodies along with their original compositions. So don't miss that. That'll be 2 p.m. on December 25th. And again, you can check out all of our programming on our website at eldridgestreet.org/events. And now to introduce our speaker and this evening's program. The collecting Hanukkah menorahs and lamps has been a passion of Dr. Feingold's for over 3 decades, and he's always been intrigued with Jewish communities throughout the diaspora, and this collection focuses on Jewish communities all over the world. The theme is universal, but each menorah contains unique elements and provides a window into Jewish history and civilization through the centuries, and into the particular location and historical period in which the menorah originates. Lighting the World, Menorahs Around the Globe, which is the title of our exhibition, links these communities historically, symbolically, and culturally. They've survived forced migrations, pogroms, the Holocaust, the rebirth of Israel, and more. The collection has brought Dr. Feingold around the world, from lighting a menorah from the collection at the White House Hanukkah party to negotiating for an additional example in a synagogue in New Delhi, India. The museum at Eldridge Street is honored to be the venue to present such a collection, and we are looking forward to sharing it on Zoom for the very first time with all of you. It's been at the museum since, I believe, 2018, but this is the first virtual presentation of it. So thank you all so much for being here, and I'll turn the screen over to Dr. Feingold. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hi. I'm very honored to be part of this, and this has been a passion of mine for many years, several decades, more than I'd like to admit. And the Hanukkah menorah is a symbol of the home, whether you're Orthodox, Reform, atheist. Having a Hanukkah menorah is very much part of everybody's home. It was part of my home when I was growing up, and it's part of my home now. And so I decided a long time ago that collecting them was a wonderful passion, and I've learned so much about them. And every geographic area, every venue, every Sephardic, Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, they have their own particular way of lighting the Hanukkah menorah and their own type of symbols that they use, but there's a universal way that they all are part of it. And I'm going to try to take you very fast through this entire collection. And by the time you're finished, I hope you'll all be art historians. There's four or five different elements that every Hanukkah lamp has or is included. One is the actual menorah itself, the menorah of the temple where the miracle occurred and the oil lasted for 8 days instead of 1 day. That lamp was 7 branches, and that lamp is sometimes included in the iconography of every lamp. The other one is architecture. You'll see architecture repeated over and over in almost every lamp from every geographic venue. And that architecture is reminiscent of the temple where it was renewed and restored, the oil, and where the miracle happened. So you have the menorah itself, you have architecture as a theme. The third thing you have are national symbols. Jews always were insecure in the countries that they lived, and they liked to be good citizens. And there's a national symbol very often on top of or part of a menorah. The author Agnon actually wrote a short story called The Menorah. And every time this menorah was on the border of Russia and Poland and Austria, had a different eagle on top. And the fourth element on these Hanukkah lamps are fantasy figures. Or heroes. You'll see, and I'll take you through that. You'll see lions and deer and birds and peacocks and warriors and Judah the Maccabee, etc., etc. So let's get started. This is the first example. It's one of the oldest. This is from Italy, cast bronze. It has on the top, see that fleur-de-lis on top? That is the symbol of the Spanish monarchy. And then there's a rosette in the middle on top. The rosette, and you'll see the rosette is repeated over and over. You see it on cathedrals. You see it on synagogues. It's the center window. And that center window, art historian would call it perhaps the Decalogue, where the Ten Commandments came together in one. Because you always wonder why there's a rosette window in synagogue. Eldridge has the rosette window. Right behind Maya, there's that blue window. Why is that? And the theory is, the art historians say, many years ago with cathedrals and synagogues, that came together. That was the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments that merged, and it's symbolic of the Ten Commandments. So we'll be able to see that theme repeated over and over. The Hebrew says on this, for the commandment is a lamp and the teaching is the light. It's Proverbs 23, and that's very often repeated. And you can see this is an oil menorah. This dates probably from the 16th or 17th century. It's cast bronze. Sigmund Freud had an example of this on his desk in his office, and it had to do with his ethnography and his feeling of this was part of who we were, and you had to look back to go forward. Next, please. This is another Italian example, and this is an example of what I was saying. Notice the 2 pillars on either side. That's reminiscent of the temple that was destroyed. Notice the menorah in the middle. It's a 7-brancher. That's reminiscent of the 7 branch in the temple and the miracle that occurred. And then on the top there is a symbol of the national symbol of the monarchy, of that fleur-de-lis. And again, this is bronze. By the way, I collected bronze more than silver because I liked bronze, but I liked them because they were less expensive. So I was able to really move fast, buy fast. Silver always commanded a higher price. So you'll see a lot of bronzes in my collection. Next, please. This is an interesting lamp, and you see it's backplated, and it almost has a Christian feel to it. It has angels in it, and they're blowing the trumpets, and there's a ring on top where it was hung from the wall. And there's some discussion that observant Jews they shouldn't have graven images, and some people would feel that was this. But there also is the the commandment to beautify the mitzvah. And it is possible that this was made from an Italian backplate that had nothing to do with menorahs, and then the artisan made this and put it together with oil. Now, most of the time, you don't see something said made in Italy, 17th century. You have to look at the patina. You have to look at the way it's put together. You have to look at the iconography to make an assumption what the age is. And nowadays, there's a lot of fakes. So you have to, especially when you're paying top dollar for this at auction houses and Sotheby's, you have to be aware how to try to differentiate a reproduction from a real thing. And a lot of it has to do with the patina. A lot of it has to do with patinas.
And
Next, please.
Erin, we have a question about this one. If Jews made Chanukias or were only the local guild artists permitted to craft them in Italy? Do you know about that?
That's a very good question. There was in Italy a family called the Di Levis. They lived in Verona. And they made bronze. I have a mortar, a medical mortar with Jewish symbols on it, made by that family. And they made a very famous Hanukkah lamp, which I don't have. That's in the collection of the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. And that was made by Jews. There's no way of really knowing that. I don't know of any guild that was in place to make Hanukkah lamps, but we can assume that some Jews made these, but also Christians also. You'll see when it gets later on in some of the other examples, there had to be machine made in some of these. These are handmade. So they had to be made by craftsmen, but some of the ones that are machine made probably were not made by Jews. Next, please.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorites. And I don't know if any of you people have been to Venice, but in the middle of St. Mark's, there's this flying griffin and winged lion, maybe we'll call it, in St. Mark's, and that's the city symbol of Venice. So this is Italian because you can see Italian lamps typically have the very detailed work, and you see the feathers on the lion's wings are beautiful. That makes it Italian, but also it's the symbol of the city of Venice. And so, art historians call this particular lamp an example of Venetian Hanukkah lamp. And as you all know, and you can tell, there's a very long story of the Venetian was the first ghetto. And what's interesting, see on either, by the end of the tail, there's two rosettes that the artist put there. Those rosettes, as I said, are reminiscent of the Decalogue. So you have the symbol of Venice, but you also have two rosettes on either side that are reminiscent of the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments. Next, please. Here's another example. This is quite interesting, and the backplate is probably not Jewish. It's from Greek mythology and the Trojan War. You can't see it very well, and it's an odd choice for a Hanukkah lamp, but whoever made it thought it was very beautiful, and we have to beautify the mitzvah, and that's part of it. And this is brass also. Again, please. Next. This is a typical lamp from Sicily. It was reproduced in Poland also because some of this iconography was copied. But you see those kidney beans opposite each other. They're reminiscent of the Decalogue, and they're also reminiscent of some fleur-de-lis symbols, as is the top. And this is oil, and it's pretty interesting. There are Polish examples of this. Next, please. This is again. You see how intricate work this is. This also is Italian, and there's the monarchy symbol on top, and somewhere in the middle is graceful scroll work, almost with an Islamic pattern in it. That Islamic pattern probably originated in Spain. Most of, a lot of Jews, as we all know, migrated. Much of the Sephardic work ended up in Italy or ended up in Northern Africa. Next, please. So this is thought to be Art Deco, Art Nouveau. and um, and that was a popular style at the beginning of the 20th century. And this is silver, and it's very elegant, and it's in the Menorah style. And what's interesting is that the Star of David is very much seen. Now we all say, "Oh, that makes it Jewish," but it's interesting that the Star of David really wasn't a was always a Jewish symbol, but it wasn't a prominent Jewish symbol until Theodore Herzl took it as his symbol for his flag. So if somebody brings you something and says, "Oh, this is 300 years old and it's Jewish from Prague with a Star of David on it," be very skeptical, because the Star of David has just been used in Jewish artisans in the early 20th century, late 19th century, after the first Zionist Congress in Basel. And this is silver. This is very beautiful, and it's French. There's some hallmarks on it that are French. Next, please. We jump to Greece. This is typically called the Greek lamp from Salonika. Salonika had a very large Jewish community, and you see this type of brass with oil, late 19th century from Salonika. It's also you see it from Egypt, and again it has the inscription in the middle. The lighting the candle is a mitzvah, the commandment. Torah is the light. There's a bird affixed on top. You see the center fleur de lis, and it's even interesting. You could look close. You see those kidney beans, which I believe is related to the Decalogue. There's a whole next, please. There's a whole theme of heroes that have been put on Hanukkah lamps, and this one celebrates Judith. Judith was a heroine, and she signifies virtue. She actually saved her Jewish community by cutting off the head of a general. I forget his name. I'll come to it later. But see, the sword she's holding a sword in her right arm, but the sword itself has been cut off. This is an Italian, similar with angels on it, but they're celebrating the heroine Judith, or Judith. She killed the general Siphanes, I believe. That was his name. And she's one of the most celebrated female heroines in Jewish legend. And it's fitting that she would be put on a menorah juxtaposed to Judah the Maccabee, who was the hero of the Hanukkah story. Next, please. This is another Italian lamp. I bet you guys didn't realize there was so many different Italians they really love to create their own artwork and their style, and I personally love Italian Hanukkah lamps. They're my favorite, and you'll see I spent a lot of time finding them. I probably have the best collection in private hands of Italian, maybe all the world, of Italian lamps. And this again is hanging lamps, 16th century maybe. It's probably 17th, and you have mythology figures. There's mermaids. See those mermaids either side, and on top is some representation of the nation, and then there's these seahorses on either side. So mythology and fantasy figures are very much part of Renaissance Italian menorahs, and this perhaps is my top 5 or 6 that I own. I love this one. It's brass. It's bronze. Pardon me. Next, please. So this again is probably French, Art Deco as opposed to Art Nouveau. And see, there's a little Judith on top with her sword. Next, please. It's silver. This one, here she is again. This is typically was made in Prague. And this is a Prague style silver lamp. Much more ornate, no folk art here. This was made by probably made by artisans with a machine. There's a crown on the top. First time we're seeing a crown, the crown of Torah. There's the crown of a good name, a crown of Torah, and a third crown, the Torah says. Crown of a good name, a crown of Torah, and a crown of learning. And there she is, Judith, with a sword. And her right hand holds the sword, her left hand holds the general's head. I hope you all can see that. And this is very beautiful. This is it's a mistake. I think it's from Czechoslovakia, Prague, not Poland. The researcher said that it was made the original was made in Breslau, Poland. I'm not sure, but whatever it is, it's very beautiful. And I think we're starting to see candles being used. Next, please. There, this is, see, I show my bias. I've been collecting Judith. There she is again, but her sword is resting. But she has in her left hand, she has the beautiful head of the evil general. And this is brass. And this is probably German. And the last one, next one, number 15. There she is. And this is probably a recast, meaning there's a way of making bronze. It's called the lost wax method. And you take an original and you put it in the sand and you cast into that sand. And the subsequent lamps are less and less detailed, and this is less and less detailed. So this was probably made by the lost wax method in the sand. If you can see, there's lions side by side, and then there's Judith. She doesn't look so good. She's had a rough couple centuries, but she's there. Next, please. So now we're jumping across Europe. And this is Netherlands or Holland. And this is sheet brass. Sheet brass, it's done in repose. That means that the images are punched from behind, not cast. Instead of cast where you pour molten bronze, this is how someone took a sheet and punched it from behind. And you see the menorah, you see pillars on either side, and you see Moses and Aaron probably lighting this. So this has all the symbols that we were talking about: pillars, the menorah, lighting the menorah, and sheet brass with Moses and Aaron on either side. And this is typical of the Netherlands. Next, please. This again is also sheet brass, and it's the Netherlands. And you see it, you all can tell already that every different country has different styles. Italy had the cast bronze. The Netherlands has this sheet brass, and those are hearts. So you're beautifying the mitzvah with the heart. Next, please. Hold. And see, this is sheet brass, and the sheet brass is the Netherlands. And in it, we see this is a more elegant sheet brass, and you see grapes in the middle. You see the Decalogue on either side, and you see the rosettes on either side, and you see a rosette in the middle. So it's very, very, very reminiscent with the symbols. This was more elegant sheet brass. And next, please. This again is Dutch, but it's, even though the first examples of this are Dutch 18th century, this is Dutch late 19th century because of the Star of David. So they took an example and they added the Star of David to it, and so now we date it later in the 19th century. And the word Hanukkah is written in the center there. This is pretty. This is an iconic example. Next, please. Sheet brass again. You guys should all know now that this has to be Netherlands or Dutch because it has that repose style. And this is the spies. I don't know. I'm sure people when Joshua, no Moses, when Moses sent the spies in to explore the land of Canaan, they came back to him with lots of stories, and they came back to him with stories of huge grapes. And this is a reminiscent of that whole story in the last book of the Torah, where the spies came back with that, and it's part of the iconography that's put on lamps. Next, please. Again, here we go. Another sheet brass. I got a lot of Italians in Netherlands. I didn't realize it. Here we go. You got sheet brass. There's a crown. There's the word Hanukkah punched from the back, and side by side, which is the theme, you have two rosettes or perhaps the Decalogue. So their symbols are used over and over again. Next, please. Now we go to Germany. Germany like to use the actual menorah itself. And this is a white metal. It's not silver. You call it white metal. Maybe at one time it was silver plate. This is a 19th century white metal reminiscent of the menorah, done in a stylistic way. Next, please. So this is one of the greatest pieces in the collection. It's German. It's inscribed with German hallmarks. It has the name of the Jewish artisan who actually made it. So this was made by a Jewish artisan called Lowenthal. And silver marks are 19th century. And it's interesting, this lamp is dated, I think it's dated 1906. And there's an inscription on it from a synagogue in Germany. And that synagogue was founded in 1906. I'd rather not say the name of the town right now, but I do know the name of the town. And the synagogue was destroyed during Kristallnacht. So obviously this piece was taken during Kristallnacht and ended up in my collection, brought to me by a dealer, which didn't know where he got it from. He found it in some kind of marketplace, he said. So here we have a lamp that's beautiful with roses. See, the candles are oil are in stylized roses, but this lamp survived all of Germany, survived Kristallnacht, ended up in my collection in New Jersey, and now is sitting in Eldridge. And lo and behold, when I researched it, the synagogue, they built a new synagogue in the mid 2000s, early 2000s. Chabad is there, and I would love to one day fly back and bring it back to them because it belongs in that synagogue. But if this could talk, can imagine the story. If any of these things could talk, can you imagine the stories it would tell? You know, maybe one day we'll figure out how to see if they have voices. But for now, we can just imagine. Next, please. This is a typical German style. It's made out of pewter, and it's a pewter bench. There's many different varieties of these, but when you look at it, any expert will tell you this is German, a bench type pewter. And believe it or not, all metal has not copper or bronze, but all silver, gold, and pewter has hallmarks on them. So this can actually be dated and where it's from and what guild made it. Next, please. Everybody loves this one because it's so beautiful. It's a German style. It has been made from the 18th century all the way up to the 21st century. It's this particular one is one of the most beautiful ones. It's probably made in early 20th century with lions holding the oil. The Decalogue, it's gilded with lions on either side. There's a crown, and there's lions sitting on benches or pillars, reminiscent of the temple. So this has all the symbols, and it's pure silver, and it always gets a lot of oohs and ahs. I like it. It's not my favorite, but I like it because it's so beautiful. But it's German in German style, with lions holding the oil wicks, and then of course the Ten Commandments. Next, please. Another German example, very stylistic, almost brutalistic, with a Star of David on it. So it's 20th century. Next, please. This one's interesting. It actually says on it, made in Sweden. So I don't know what else makes it Swedish, but it has the Star of David. It's interesting. It's probably a little bit Art Nouveau, and it actually says inscribed or engraved in it, made in Sweden. So go find another Hanukkah lamp that's made in Sweden. And Sweden had a great history. The Danish Jews escaped to Sweden, across the channel to Malmo, and perhaps we can imagine that this was lit by some of those Danish Jews that escaped to Sweden during the Holocaust. Next, here we go. It's English. How do we know it's English? It has all the symbols: the crown, the pillars, the lions, the menorah. We know it's English because it says on the back Sheffield, and Sheffield is an English silver plate. Believe it or not, it's a much less pure silver, but it still needs to be polished. This one, but you see the rosettes on either side, also, and the columns, and there we have the crown. So it's iconic. Next, please. So I got this as a gift from my dear wife, Brenda. It's from Ireland, and it's Waterford. So I had to include it because it's the only Irish Hanukkah lamp that I think that exists. But it's Waterford. It's collectible, and it's new. It's it's maybe late 20th century, early 21st century, but it's Sheffield, and that's what makes it unique. Next, please. There we go. Now we jump into Eastern Europe and Poland. This is an example of a Hanukkah lamp that's that's typical of the Ukraine or Poland. Lions, you see the lions. We see the crown on top. We see the oil, the candle holders on either side. It's been said that these were also used for Shabbat candles, and a home didn't have to have both Shabbat candles and a menorah. They had this. Then you see the little rosettes next to that, and there's also the architectural elements and the kidney beans, and this is very beautiful. Heavy bronze. Pardon me. Next, please. This is an example of a Prague lamp. Prague had a nice Jewish population. And has the old new synagogue, and the Golem was discovered there and written there. There's Aaron and Moses on either side, and then there's the lyre. The lyre is a instrument that was played in the temple, and it's oil again. So this is a typical example of Prague, and I thought it would be important. Next, please. Poland. Now, anybody who's been listening to the lecture knows what this is here. Look at the crown. You see the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments. You see the lions flanking the Ten Commandments. We're all supposed to be as brave as a lion, as fast as a deer, and fly as high as an eagle. So these are all examples that are put on the lamps. And then there's it's flanked by pillars on either side, reminiscent of the temple. And at the very bottom, you see a rosette window. So everything's here: the crown, the pillars, the rosette, and the lions, and the Decalogue. And it says Hanukkah. Next, please. This is an early brass bronze, and it has lots of grill work on it, and there's a birds up on top, fly as high as the birds, and it also has two, so it's for Shabbat. Some of these are small because Jews traveled sometimes from town to town, and they needed to take Hanukkah lamps with them. Next, please. So this is heavy. It's thought to be Galatia, but there's also examples of this from Italy, and this is really beautiful. It's just an example of a stylized menorah, and God or Moses told Bezalel to build a menorah of 7 branches in the desert, and this is symbolic of them, with knots and bulbs, and it was described in very much detail. If you read the Torah, you'll be able to see how it was described to be built, with all kinds of areas. I think they were called knobs, and this is that. And this is of the style of Galatia. Galatia is a province that's now the Ukraine. At one time, it was Austria-Hungary, and then it became Russia after World War I. Then it became Poland, and now it's the Ukraine. So we just call it Galatia. So if somebody says they're from Austria-Hungary, they could be from Hungary, they could be from Austria, they can be from the Ukraine, they could be from so many places. Next, please. This is a very small traveling menorah, a Hanukkah lamp. It's been, some people think it's from Spain. Some historians say it's from Galatia or the Ukraine, even from Italy. And the differences are in the way that it's been cast. This one, I believe, was probably cast in Galatia or the Western Ukraine. And you see the kidney beans again, and you can hang it. Next, please. This is small. There's a lion, and it's in the same style, and it's also thought to be in the Western Ukraine. There's a very famous museum, Jewish museum, in the town of Lvov or Lemberg. Recently, it's been getting a lot of bombs, but it's the Ukraine, and it's almost all bronze or brass, because that was these weren't wealthy provinces, and they had very little silver. So every Jewish home practically could own a Hanukkah lamp that was made of bronze or brass instead of silver. Next, please. So this again is in my top favorites. I looked a long time to find this. It's belonged to a very famous collector who sold this collection. His name was Michael Zagayski. And this is typical of Galatia or Eastern Europe. There's examples that go back as far as the 17th or 18th century. This is probably 19th century. And it's reminiscent of the wooden synagogues that dotted Ukraine and Poland. The wooden synagogues, there's only one really existing right now. Most of them were used to burn our people after they were put in these synagogues, and they were lit on fire during the Holocaust. There's a reproduction of it in the Jewish Museum in Poland right now in Warsaw, and there's pillars in the middle. There's two Shabbos candles. You can't see it, but there's lions on either side, and there's a sloped roof. You see on top there's the fleur-de-lis of the country, and then there's probably birds, and then there's a roof that comes down, and that roof is reminiscent of that synagogue with arches and windows. And if I really was doing this right, I'd show a picture of a wooden synagogue next to to this lamp. It's very interesting. The older ones are more massive. And as long as we're talking about this one, next, please. I'll see if I have an example on this. Yes, okay. So this is 18th century. It's violated, meaning it's been polished. Someone polished it, took the patina off, and it lacquered it. And I didn't have the heart to try to restore it. And this is interesting because there's screws on it. Now, how do you know something is 19th century, 20th century, or 18th century? You look at the screws. There's something called hand screws. Hand screws have very uneven edges on them, and a hand screw was made by hand, not by machine. When the Industrial Revolution came, you could see Hanukkah lamps that had very uniform small screws. This has very big, uneven screws. There's the lions, there's the crown, and in the middle you see a Polish or a Russian eagle, and you even see a peacock. Those are the peacocks. So this is a very rare piece. There's one in the Israel Museum in the Steiglitz collection, and it has all the elements, and it's heavy, heavy brass. Next, please. This is also uh, uh, probably Poland. And in the center, coming right up in the middle, is a hand screw. And the sides are hand screws, rare, very uneven, big, big threaded screws. And then there's the kidney beans on either side, which are thought to be uh, thought to be the Decalogue. Next, please. So this is a very interesting piece. This belonged to the famous Michael Steinhardt, and he had a very big collection, and it was auctioned at Sotheby's, and I bought this one piece from his collection because it goes right with my collection. He had very fancy silver pieces and all. Now, what makes this so interesting to me? First of all, it's probably folk art, meaning that it wasn't done by a factory or an artisan. It was done by a local person who was fooling around with a chisel. See how uneven the images are? You see the floor, you see the image in the center, you see the kidney beans, you see the national symbol, you see pillars on either side, and then you see all the way on the right, you see an eagle. That's probably the Russian eagle. And then there's another eagle on the side that's the Polish eagle. Then you see a lot of birds, beautify the mitzvah. So somebody decided they wanted to chisel and decorate this in a folk art manner. And if you look at the back, it's definitely 18th century. And this is somebody who really understands Hanukkah lamps and understands the artistry behind it, and the iconography loves this because it's just has everything all put in one together. And again, if this could talk, imagine the story it would tell. Next, please. This is a great piece made by machine in early 20th, late 19th century Poland. There's examples of this in silver. There's examples of this in brass. It's hard to find it all put together sometime because the pieces fall off. There's lions, palm trees. We never talked about palm trees. Palm trees are a symbol of the land of Israel. The Romans used palm trees, and when they conquered Judea, they put a Jewess next to a palm tree with a big Russian general over her, implying the name of the coin is called Judea Capita. Palm trees in the Decalogue are side by side. That definitely symbols the land of Israel. Very often you see 7-leaf palm trees, and then you see grapes up on top, and you see grape leaves and the crown. So there's so much, and the lions on either side. So the iconography here is perfect for Hanukkah, and it goes along with the symbols that have been used throughout the decades and centuries. Next, please. Here we do it again. You guys must be getting bored. Galatia, the Ukraine. This is another example of brass or bronze, lions, a crown, a heart in the center with um, to kindle the Hanukkah lights is a mitzvah. And then again, you have the underneath the oil holders. You have an architectural element, a fortress type element. Next, so this is called the sofa lamp. This is typical of Austria. If Sigmund Freud or Franz Joseph or all of the swells that lived in Vienna at the time had to light a Hanukkah lamp, this is what they would light. This is the believe it or not, the oil is held in spoons. Those are all silver spoons that are used as fonts. It's really pretty interesting. So this is an elegant piece, silver, lions, the Decalogue, a crown, rosettes on either side with silver spoon, with a very elegant Baroque sofa. So if you were sitting in the parlor of a salon in Vienna, trying to be good little Jews there, you would light it in this. Who knows? This may have been taken on Kristallnacht. It may have been when Hitler entered Vienna on the Anschluss. You never know. But here it is sitting in Eldridge. And it's just a magnificent example of an elegant, non-folk art, probably done by a craftsman, hallmarked Vienna and Austria. Just look at it, gaze at it. It's really beautiful.
Erin, we have a question in the chat
Yeah.
about the difference between the menorahs that we've seen, which have been generally 18th to 20th century, 17th to 20th century, and a lot earlier menorahs from, let's say, before the 17th century, even 1st to 10th century, she asks.
Yeah, there are not a lot of examples that I know that have that. Some of them are, and that's a very good question. The holiday of Hanukkah was celebrated with oil lamps and more crudely. You don't see a lot of menorahs or Hanukkah lamps before the 15th or 16th century. There are a few clay examples that were thought to be found in the Holy Land, but it's interesting. There are not a lot of examples that I've come across and I thought that were, and I don't think the holiday was as celebrated universally among Jews till later on. The oldest one was number one, had the rosette that I know. But that's a very good question, and I would say deserves some very good research too. Whoever asked, I do know examples of 8 oil lamps with Jewish symbols on them in the Israel museums. They're very rare, and I've not come across any in my ability to collect. And perhaps they haven't survived. Mm-hmm. Next, please. So this is very interesting, very crude, very folk art, and it's early American. I'm told that this was found in Newport, and it was buried in when they were doing some excavation of for a housing development in Newport. This was found, and it's typical of what was thought to be early American. It's made out of tin. You can tell it wasn't. It was done in the Dutch style, repose from behind, and there's the Decalogue on either side, and this was meant for oil. It's very, compare this to the one from Vienna. It's like night and day, but they're both so important. And this is probably the earliest Hanukkah lamp known that's American. I didn't make a full survey, but there's no other American lamp that could match this with the whole story behind it, where it was found, how it looks made of tin, and it has a German influence to it too. The German Dutch with the punched back, and the Dutch were very prominent in America at that time. So it has a provenance of where it was dug up, and the provenance is the key with a lot of these things. Next, please. This is also American. Pewter. The pewter marks on it dated into the early 19th century, the early 1800s. Again, it's crude, may have been made by an artisan or a family that wanted to celebrate Hanukkah in somewhere that didn't have machinery or didn't have access. But it's an oil lamp Hanukkah, and it's also American. Next, please. So this was this is not the exact one, but this was the lamp that I was brought up on. This particular one, my grandfather and my great grandfather used. It's probably early 20th century, and it has that little Star of David in the middle, and it's American. And this is the first Hanukkah lamp that I even knew about when I was a kid. This picture of me lighting it. You wouldn't recognize me. Next, please. This was used for fundraising in America in the 1920s and through 1940s. It's Uvria, which is an American women's organization that was founded in 1926. That helped bring Jewish children to religious schools, and this was one of the souvenirs they had. Just as an aside, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 30 years ago, I received a letter from a synagogue called Eldridge Street that needed to be restored. And for $100, I got a menorah, a lamp with the Eldridge Street on there, and I still have it. And I sent the $100, which was a real lot of money back then. And I have this beautiful backplated Hanukkah with the Eldridge Street rosette on it. It's not in the collection here, but it should be. Go ahead, please. Next. This is another American. See, there's one rosette on the side and another rosette that's missing. This is tin. It's probably not as old because there's the Jewish star on it, with a rosette in the middle, Jewish star being from the late 19th century. Next, please. I bet many on the call have used this. They're still selling this. This is what we used to get in Hebrew school. And it's tin. It has oil and candles, and it has the rosette on either side. And this was one of the first. This was very inexpensive. You could have these for under a few dollars, and we all got these in Hebrew school when I was a kid. A little bit different, but it was very thin. Next, please. This is also American, early 20th century. It's a music box, and it played Rock of Ages, More Tzor, that little switch down there. It's funny. It's reminiscent of a menorah in its own style. The next, please. I put birthday candles in this one when I was a kid. It was great. Every one of our kids in my home had their own little one, and this was mine, like mine. Next, please. This is an early 20th century sheet brass American, but done in the Dutch style. Next, please. So this is quite famous. There's examples of this in the Smithsonian. There's examples of this in many of the Jewish museums. It was actually lit by President Biden in the White House. I wasn't there, but this one, it's the Liberty Bell Hanukkah, not the Statue of Liberty one, and it was chosen by Manfred Anson, who was a survivor of the Holocaust and the children's transport, to use the Liberty Bell because there's an inscription from Leviticus on the Liberty Bell, and it says, "Let freedom ring," and that's the theme of the Hanukkah holiday. And each one of these bells on the back has another example of a Jewish patriot on it, including Chaim Solomon, who financed the revolution. And this one is particularly mine because I happened to find and research the name of a Jewish, well, he probably wasn't a doctor. He was a medic in the American Revolution. And I had him make it specially for me. And the name is engraved on the back of one of the bulbs. But it's a very sought after lamp. And I'll show you later. Manfred Anson made the famous Statue of Liberty menorah also. That was lit at the White House. Next, please. Next, please. Oh, here it is. So this is the Statue of Liberty menorah, but this is a small version. This is the only one that's in silver. The Skirball Museum in California gave out this to their very high donors Manfred made. And this is cast in one piece. And the Statue of Liberty was used as an iconography. He made big ones, and you'll see later that we lit at the White House. Here it goes. See, there's a large one at the White House that was lit by Obama. I actually donated this to the Smithsonian and the National Museum of Jewish History. Who's that? That looks like me. There I am at the White House, and the doorway in the central hallway with the presidential seal and the lamp. This was Hanukkah 2013, and that this is an example of the lamp. It's really beautiful, and there's one. It's Smithsonian, the Library of Congress, and in New York. There's one at the Holocaust Museum downtown. I'm very proud of it. So if you didn't see Mexico, you would have known it's Mexico anyways. It looks like a piñata, doesn't it? You know, with all the different colors and the bird and the grapes. And yep, it's Mexican. Says on it Mexico, made in Mexico. I bet it was told to all the tourists that went to Acapulco and Mexico City, and probably Mexican Jews too. Maybe even the current president used one like this. She's Jewish, but this is pretty interesting, and it's typical Mexican. Looks like a piñata, and it's great. Today, there's 45,000 Jews living in Mexico, so I bet they don't use this one, but maybe. Keep going. Next one, please. This one. The only reason I know that it's from Mexico is because it says in it, made in Mexico. And I'm sure it was in the gift shops in Acapulco, and someone brought it back to New York, and here it is. But I love it. It's part of my collection, and goes along with everything about the collection, being Jews from all over the world in the diaspora. Next one, please. Here we go. This is from the West Indies, made in wood. Again, probably sold to tourists, but you never know. There's some beautiful synagogues in St. Thomas with dirt floors, and Barbados, and it has the Decalogue on it and the symbols. Next, please. I'm going to go a little faster because we may be running out of time. This is Brazil. You would think that it would be made in Brazil. You see the amethyst on it and the different gems on the bottom and the leaves and the interesting architecture and the gold tone with semi-precious stones. These are stones that are native to Brazil, and it was used to decorate this in it. And I'm not sure if it was used for tourists or not, but it just goes with my collection, menorahs throughout the world. Keep going, please. Next. Now we go to a completely different area, Morocco. North Africa has its own style. There were so many hundreds of thousands of Jews living in North Africa, in Algeria, Morocco, Libya, Egypt, Tunisia. And this is typical of Morocco, the Jews that ran out of Spain during the Inquisition and landed there. And look at this. Look how beautiful it is. Look at the architecture. You see the rosette in the middle, and the rosette on either side. You see the grill work. You see the pillars reminiscent of the Torah, of the temple. It's just spectacular. And this couldn't be anywhere else but Morocco. They repeated this style over and over again. Architecture was the theme of many, many Moroccan lamps. And Jews who made these, or artisans who made these, used the architecture of the locale that they were in. So here you see this Moroccan, I don't know, call it a synagogue, but it's a Hanukkah lamp with a rosette of the Decalogue and sheet brass and using architecture. Next, please. We got architecture again. There's birds on top, and we have a wall with windows, and this is North African, probably Morocco. Morocco had the largest population at the time. Next, please. This is folk art again. This is Morocco with the Ten Commandments in silver. But you see it has architectural scroll work also. Next, please. Famous Moroccan style. Architectural scroll work with birds hanging from the wall with oil. Next, please. Again, this is a more modern one with a Jewish star, but you can see it's North Africa, it's sheep brass. It's a lot cruder than the sheep brass that we saw from the Netherlands. You see there's pillars, there's stars of David, there's birds, there's the pillar, there's the rosette in the middle, and on the side, the national symbol, and oil. Sheet brass, North African. Next, please. So this is very cool, this one. Very rare, very cool. The only other example of this is in the Israel Museum in Jerusalem, and they call it Algerian, and it's ceramic, and it's very old, 18th century, and it's just remarkable. It's done in the architectural manner. It's very similar to Arab or Berber wares from North Africa, but this one's particularly Jewish because of the 8 candles and some of the iconography on it. But it's very interesting and very cool, and it's I think it's Algerian. That's what all the books have had it. And the Steiglitz collection in the Israel Museum, this is included, and they call it Algerian. Next, please. So here we have Tunisia, it's thought. And you can see again the rosettes on either side with Star of David's. But this one jumps a little. There's peacocks on either side of the shamus. And again, it's done in that architectural manner. And it's possible this is from Persia or Iran because of the peacocks, but we're not, of course, you're not sure. Next, please. This, though, is Persian. It's glazed ceramic, which is a style of Persia, palm trees, the rosette, flowers, and architectural. And, you know, they still believe there's many Jews still living in Iran right now that have to celebrate in clandestines. But this is it. Beautiful. Really beautiful. 20th century. Next, please. This is, again, a glazed 20th century Persia, probably, or maybe Turkey. But you see, what you guys are seeing is that each particular geographic area has their own particular style and way of doing things. And the ceramic like this is Iran or Persia. Next, please. Baghdadi silver. Typically, there was a huge population of Jews living in Baghdad. You know, both Persia and Baghdad all had Jews that, after the first temple was destroyed, were brought, you know, as prisoners to these countries. And Cyrus let them back in, you know, and rebuilt the second temple. But typically of the Baghdadi style is the round. It's a circular form of the lamp. It's not in a menorah, it's circular. And this is circular. Next, please. India. I actually got this one myself in India. This is a style. There's those little round cups hold glass holders. This is more modern, but they've been doing this for since the middle of the 19th century. And this is Indian style. Next, please. This also is Indian style. There's an Indian backplate, Indian architecture, Indian scroll work with a leopard or a lion in it in the center. This was thought to be from Cochin. Cochin were there's three specific different Indian Jewish dialects. There's the Jews called the Cochin Jews, which were thought to be reminiscent of the first temple that were carried off. There's the Jews that survived the Portuguese Inquisition that escaped to India, and then there's the Baghdadis, Sassoon Daks in Baghdad. This probably belonged to the first group, the Cochin group. Next, please. So this is a very interesting Hanukkah lamp. It was made in Israel, made for a family, an Indian Jewish family living in Israel who were getting married. And whoever had made it took the iconography and changed it towards modern iconography. There's two elephants instead of lions. It's done in bronze. And the architecture is, of course, you always have architecture because you think about the temple. But the architecture is Indian architecture. So it's very, very, even though it doesn't look like anything we've ever seen before, it carries the theme. And of course, the blue, the color of blue and the tinted blue has to do with Israel. Next, please. Philippines. I bet you didn't know that the Philippines had their own Hanukkah lamps. And how do I know? It actually is burnt into the wood, made in the Philippines. Again, the Philippines always had some Jews. They were a place that some Jews escaped the Holocaust to and stayed there till they could immigrate. But there always was a small population that was there. And look, the same, even though it says Philippines and it's made out of wood, we have lions and symbols and the menorah and the symmetry of two decalogues next to each other. So this is a very interesting piece. And I think only I would buy something like this, in a collect, because it fits perfectly into my collection. No one else has a Philippines Hanukkah lamp, except for Eldridge. Next, please. So this is very beautiful. Very beautiful. This is Uzbek, Bakhara. And look at it. By now, you all know what I'm going to say. Bakhara. This has a very big Islamic influence to it. There's symmetry and pillars. There's precious stones. There's the menorah. There's the symmetry of the two blue stones of the Decalogue, the Ten Commandments, and there's all the architectural elements, and such a universal theme. And this is a beautiful lamp, really beautiful. And it says on it, for the mitzvah, to light the lamp for the mitzvah. Next, please. We're almost done. This one is historic. There's an inscription on the back engraved. It says Cyprus, Hanukkah, 1947. So what was going on in Cyprus in 1947? There were camps there where the British had Jews interred, if you remember the movie Exodus. So somebody back there took this lamp, celebrated Hanukkah in Cyprus in 1947. So again, if these things could talk, there would be talking about living through the Holocaust, living and the hope of going to Israel and living in Israel. And that's what's special about it. And you look closely, you can see the Jewish star in the middle, and the Decalogues flanking it on either side. Next, please. Okay, so now we jump to Israel. Theodor Herzl was very smart. He decided that there has to be a czar in Israel for souvenirs. And he appointed a man named Boris Schatz, because he knew that whoever visited the Holy Land would want to come home with souvenirs. And all of us grew up with Jewish souvenirs in our house. And this was one of the first. This was made by a man called Zev Rabban in the workshop of Bezalel. And you can see there's little bullets. Bullets were used to hold the candles. There's the Decalogue in the middle. There's the architecture from that was seen and the inscription. So everything is there, but this is a very highly collectible piece made in the Bezalel workshop. And it's made in Palestine for Israel. And it's very, very interesting. Look at it. It's very beautiful, is it not? With the bullets too. Next, please. This is another example of a Hanukkah lamp made in that very same workshop by Boris Schatz and Zev Rabban. Again, it has the same themes that we were talking about. The lions, the menorah, the Decalogue. This has some ancient coins up on top reproduced, ancient Jewish coins, which are lots of people. I particularly collect these coins because there's Jewish symbols on it, and the Jewish symbols show our linkage to the land of Israel 2,000 years ago. So that's it. And then there's architectural symbols. So this lamp is reminiscent and very much related to what we've been talking about. Here is another one, Zev Rabban. On one side, it shows the exodus from Israel, and on the other side, this is a modern Israeli scene. And these were souvenirs made by another artist. And we all have Israeli Hanukkah in our houses, grew up with them. Next, please. Here's another. This is a famous one, and you see there's little oil lamps all stacked together with an oil amphora. Another, again, made in Israel. And this is, by the way, if you hear people describe, this is the way lamps were, Hanukkah lamps were made before they made whole ones. They used little oil lamps like this. Next, please. Love this one. This is made by a famous artist, Zev Rabban. He was the chief metallurgist in this Bezalel school. And once again, there's fantasy figures. There's corns of plenty and cap against each other. There's a stylistic palm tree, if you see there. And the inscription says, "These lights are holy." It's very beautiful. Next, please. Another one from the 50s with a kibbutznik on it. And was this again, it also said these lights are holy. But there's the pioneer kibbutznik who was the new hero, the new fantasy figure, and he was put on there. Next, please. We're getting near the end, guys. This is again a souvenir type lamp, reminiscent of the story of Jonah, where Jonah got swallowed by the whale. But some people say that it's also important for Israel because there's a saying, "Bring them home by sea," and this is the ship that brought Jews back mid-20th century. Next, please. It speaks for itself. 20th century, it's called trench art. Brass and shell casings used to make a menorah. These are big shells. Trench art. There's a lot of examples of trench art. Next, please. Glazed ceramic. These are designs that were, again, made for souvenirs and were the Maccabees. And these are all the Maccabees. The Maccabees, of course, were the soldiers that helped make the Hanukkah miracle come true. Next, please. The map of the Holy Land on an Israeli. You can see how Israeli artisans and manufacturers tried to make lots of different souvenirs. And this was a map of the Holy Land, a very famous map of the Holy Land, put in brass with bronzes bilaterally, lions. Next, please. This is called the Jerusalem lamp. You know, there's somewhere in the Talmud it says that you have to put the lamp outside so that everybody could see. And this is what was done in Jerusalem. And if you, so even in the old city of Jerusalem, if you walk around, you'll see this lamp is put in the windows. It's called the Jerusalem lamp. Next, please. This is one of my favorites, probably my wife's favorite. It's Israel. It's ceramic. It's done in that blue color, and it's very reminiscent of the Art Deco buildings that were built in Tel Aviv in the 30s. You could see the whole linear aspect of it, and again, it mimics the Hanukkah lamps' correspondence with architecture. You all can see those. I don't know if you know those. Neve Tzedek is an area of Tel Aviv now that is just all redone architecture in the style. It's called the international style or the Bauhaus. Bauhaus is the style they use, Bauhaus. And this is the Bauhaus style. Next, please. We're getting there, guys. This is a traveling lamp. The myth is it belonged to a Rabbi Sonnenfeld, Joseph Sonnenfeld, who lived from 1849 to 1932. He's a very important rabbi. He was the leader of the Jewish separatist Orthodox community in Jerusalem and wanted the separation between Orthodox and non-Orthodox, and this was his Hanukkah lamp. Very unadorned. Next, please. The famous German cartoon of a Christmas tree merging into a Hanukkah lamp, and this is it's from Germany in the 30s, used for assimilation, and this was made in Israel in 1965, reminiscent of that. Next, please. I bought this one myself in the old city. So this is made from Jerusalem stone. The artisan said it was made from the stones of the Ney Church. The Ney Church was built by a Roman empress from what's thought to be the Holy Temple, the remnants of the Holy Temple. So in theory, I kept this in my living room. It's a menorah of the Jerusalem stone that could have been a stone that was used in Solomon's temple that was destroyed in 70 AD. And if you take me or if you put me on, have I been on the whole time? Because I wanted to show two. I want to show two new ones I got just the other year, this year, if I can see it. So this is in my house, and this is Polish, or we'll call it Austria-Hungarian. There's the peacock. There's a peacock in the middle. There's lions. There's a crown, and there's pillars. Here's the peacock, and it's holding the peacock, so you're beautifying the mitzvah. What's so interesting on here is that I think it must have broken apart, and somebody soldered a coin on here, a coin, an Austrian silver krona from the year 1908, silvered a krona on to hold the crown. Must have broken off. So I love that, and it gives it even more of a provenance. And the last thing I'm going to show is one of my newest, and I've looked a long time for this. It's a Hanukkah lamp from Algeria. It's typical style, brass, architectural elements, Islamic architectural elements. And each one of these little windows holds an oil font. So it goes along with the whole genre of what I've been collecting. And I want to thank Eldridge for allowing me to have so much fun.
Thank you so much, Erin. And I just want to end with how it looks like in our space. Obviously, just a couple of the cases, but it looks so beautiful in our main sanctuary. Those of you who haven't visited us in person, please do. Um, and yeah, are there any last questions for Dr. Feingold? Feel free to either raise your hand or you can put them in the chat. We have comments how beautiful everything was and thank yous.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It's great. Come visit, You got to get
Bonnie,
him
go
out of
ahead.
the
On behalf of Eldridge, um, Erin, your gift, your knowledge, your being is
Thank you.
so welcomed. It is a heartfelt love of you and what you've shared with us and all our visitors who come and have an opportunity. We now have visitors coming from 105 countries. So to have this ability to show these magnificent lamps, you have so enriched so many lives. We cannot thank you enough.
Thanks, Bonnie. I'm just grateful to Eldridge. Doctors, the Talmud says that a doctor has to be thankful for his patients because without them, he wouldn't be a doctor. I'm grateful for Eldridge.
Well,
Otherwise, they'd just be sitting on a shelf in the living room.
it is so mutual,
Thank
and
you.
our visitors from around the world are enriched because of you. God bless you.
Wonderful.
You're the best.
Thank guys.
Well, that's a beautiful way to end.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Maya.
Bonnie.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank you. And we have so many thank yous in the chat. So thank you all for coming tonight and happy early Hanukkah. I hope everyone has a wonderful, warm, beautiful holiday and holiday season. It's a busy month, I think, for everybody. So stay warm. Happy New Year if we don't see you before that, but I hope that we do. And stay safe. And thank you so much, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.